Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our page. I am Tanwani Mesmine, your host. Today we'll be talking on health-related issues in commemoration to the World Health Day, celebrated every year on the 7th of April. This year's celebration is under the theme, Health for All. Right here with me in REWAC's office, we have two health personnel who will talk on sexually transmitted diseases and the psychological effects of SGBV on gender-based violence. Good morning, Dr. Laura.
Good morning, Ms.
Good morning, Mr. Light.
Good morning, Ms.
Welcome and thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. Before we continue, let's give a shout out to the Ministry of Public Health, CDC, World Health Organization, UNICEF, REWAC, and other local NGOs as well as stakeholders for the efforts they made to create awareness in our society today. We realize in our society today, health has been a very, very big problem. It is worth noting that health is wealth. It is therefore important for everyone to be informed about their abilities to influence their health. Through their lifestyle, we realize in our community today, health issues has been a big problem. It is worth noting that health is wealth and therefore important for each and everyone to be informed about health-related issues through their lifestyle and choices, because it can affect them either positively or negatively. Notwithstanding, let's move over to Dr. Laura. What do you have to tell our audience about STDs, that is sexually transmitted diseases?
Thank you very much, Mesmine. Sexually transmitted diseases are diseases which are transmitted through sexual contact, and that includes oral and anal sex. They are caused by bacteria, viruses, and even parasites. We have more than 30 different STDs which are known, but the most common ones which are caused by bacteria and are curable include chlamydia, gonorrhea, syphilis, and T. vaginalis. The common ones which are caused by viruses are incurable, include HIV, hepatitis B, herpes simplex, and the human papilloma virus. We all know that women are more susceptible to these STDs. It's not because of their sexual habits or lifestyle, it's just the way women are built because of their natural or their normal anatomy. According to WHO, more than 1 million STDs are acquired every day worldwide, which the most common ones are asymptomatic. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Laura, that was an awesome beginning, actually. So what are some of the symptoms? You know, some people can contact these sexually transmitted diseases, but they don't know they have it. And I'm sure there are symptoms to it. So what are some of the symptoms? Can you tell our public the symptoms of sexually transmitted diseases so that in case they figure out that they have some of these symptoms, they can rush to their doctors?
Okay, thank you. Like I mentioned earlier, the majority of STDs are asymptomatic, meaning you can acquire an STD, but you have no symptom. But usually for women, they can present with abnormal vaginal discharges, that the discharge is abnormal in the smell, the quantity, and also the color. They can present with painful urination, meaning they have a burning sensation while they are urinating. And also they can have pains during sexual intercourse, which is called dyspareunia. Sometimes they can have lower abdominal pains and even abnormal bleeding during that period, meaning they bleed in between periods. For men, they can present with discharges from the penis. They can also have burning sensation during urination. They can have pain or swelling in both or one of their testicles. Thank you.
Okay, if you are just joining us right now, we are here in the REWAC's head office with two medical personnel, Dr. Laura and Ms. Delight, and they are here to talk about sexually transmitted diseases as a psychological effect of gender-based violence on survivors. So you should stay tuned. Okay, Dr. Laura, you've just mentioned some of the symptoms of sexually transmitted diseases. So are there some preventions to this? If there are, tell our audience.
Of course, like the name, sexually transmitted diseases, it means if you don't want to have these diseases, you have to abstain from sex. So the ultimate way to avoid these sexually transmitted diseases is through abstinence. But then if you must have sex, then you should use condoms. And using condoms means every time you have sex, you use the condoms. So you're using the condoms correctly and consistently. Also, there are vaccines which are available for these STDs which have been mentioned. Like we talked about the viral causes of STDs, is hepatitis B, and we also have the human papilloma virus, for which vaccines have been made available. For couples, they can get tested maybe once every year to avoid these STDs, or to, when you have an STD, you get treated to prevent further infection. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Laura, thank you so much. But I still have one last question for you. Are there some complications that comes with this infection?
Yes, there are.
Okay, please.
Like STDs, it increases the risk of you having the HIV virus. And also, if a pregnant woman has an STD, it's going to affect her child. The baby can be of low birth weight, they can have a neonatal death, or even an infection, even when they have been delivered, infection that involves the eyes. Also, the hepatitis B virus, it affects the liver. It can cause a liver cancer, which is known as hepatocellular carcinoma, and also affect the liver by causing a liver cirrhosis. And when you have these conditions, it can lead to death. We talked about the bacterial causes of STDs, gonorrhea and chlamydia. They are known to cause pelvic inflammatory diseases. They cause ectopic pregnancy. I'm sure you have heard about that. Yeah, and they can also cause the ladies or the women to have a chronic or a long-term lower abdominal pain.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Laura. If you're actually joining us here, we are on a health program talking about STDs and psychological effects of sexual gender-based violence on survivors. With that being said, we're moving to our next guest, the second guest in the house, Miss Delight, and she'll be talking strictly on the psychological effects of sexual gender-based violence on survivors. Welcome again once more, Miss Delight.
Once more, thank you so much for having me on your show.
It's an honor. The issue of mental health is alarming in our society today. That is, people kill themselves every day. I've been getting news on blog stories that people are committing suicide and many other atrocities that has to do with their mental illness. So my first question to you during this session on Health Dog Show, what are the psychological effects of sexual gender-based violence? Well, please, without cutting me short, can you enlighten us more on sexual gender-based violence before getting to the psychological effects of this?
Sexual gender-based violence is a sexual act directed to a person's sexuality, regardless of the person's relationship to the perpetrator. So where is the link between psychology and sexual gender-based violence? First of all, it is important to know that psychological health is the emotional, mental, and social well-being of a person, and not just the absence of diseases or infirmities. So there is a deep connection between psychological health and sexual gender-based violence, as it can have many psychological effects on survivors, most of which are not talked about because of fear of stigma from the society. So now I'll move straight to the psychological effects, some of the psychological effects that come as a result of sexual and gender-based violence. We'll talk about post-traumatic distress. This one comes after somebody has been violated upon, and it is characterized by anxiety, fear. You can name the rest. Okay, so the next psychological effect I will be talking about is depression. Depression is very common in our society, and it is often underlooked. Depression is characterized by mood swings, irritability, you're feeling down, feeling of insecurity. So the next psychological effect I will talk about is substance misuse. This one is very important because it is so alarming nowadays, especially with the younger population. How does substance misuse relate to sexual and gender-based violence? Okay, so for somebody who has experienced sexual and gender-based violence, this person may resort to excessive drinking or excessive intake of tobacco and drugs just to feel better. Another psychological effect I will be talking about is suicidal behavior, which is very, very prevalent in our society today. Thank you, Mrs. Mesmine, for mentioning suicide, because it's so prevalent in our society today, especially among the younger population. So somebody can be experiencing sexual and gender-based violence and they don't get to open up about it. They may resort to suicide, thinking that that is the only option for them. On this note, I want to encourage anybody who is going through any form of sexual and gender-based violence to speak up, for you are not alone. We have organizations like REWAC who are working every day to ensure that they provide psychological first aid to people who are suffering from any form of violence. So please, do not stay at home and you just think of ending your life. Please always remember that once there is life, there is hope.
For sure.
Yes. So another psychological effect is insomnia. This one is just difficulty sleeping. You may also have flashbacks, like you always be thinking about that particular incident that happened to you, hallucinations, you're seeing things that are not real, or you're hearing voices that are not real, forceful perceptions. So these are the psychological effects of sexual and gender-based violence.
And thank you so much, Ms. Delight, for that particular point. That is the psychological effect of gender-based violence. Please, if you're here with us today, make sure to spread this information because it's educative, it's rich. Most of us out there, we die because of ignorance. So it's very, very important. Tell your loved ones, share with them in whatsoever, anything that has to do with psychological, gender-based violence. Notwithstanding, Ms. Delight, you said many youths in our community today, they engage themselves in actions that push them to commit suicide. How can we manage this psychological disorder, especially the mental health?
Okay, so thank you once more for that beautiful question. I mentioned that when a person is going through any form of sexual and gender-based violence, there are organizations like REWAC. REWAC is out there to help people who suffer from any form of violence. Our doors are open 24/7, and we have a sector which specializes in attending to people with psychological disorders.
Thank you so much, Ms. Delight. You're not answering my question, you're answering the question. of the public. Exactly, you're not talking just to me. I know that thousands of you out there watching us and listening to this educative talk on health, that is sexually transmitted diseases, as well as psychological effects on gender-based violence. Please, again, I would like to throw more light on this. Silence is never a solution. Speak out. You don't know who will help you out there. There are many people. There are people willing to embrace your problems as if the problem belongs to them. You just need to let it out so that you can be healed, you can be cured. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this our health program, and it has been a wonderful time with you, Dr. Laura, and Ms. Light in REWAC's head office on the Health Talk Show. It was so educative and enlightening. I wish to have you here again over and over so that you can at least create awareness to the society. Many people are ignorant about their health, most especially the sexually transmitted diseases. I hope our audience out there grabbed a lot from this talk show. And please don't forget, health is wealth. Thank you very, very much. I have been your host, Tanwani Mesmine. And with me in the studio, we have Dr. Laura and Ms. Light. Please don't forget to follow us on all our social media handles, that is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, as well as YouTube. And again, remember to like, share, and comment on every post we bring forth to you. Thank you. Bye-bye.